Hello, everyone. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you who's been showing up here, leaving comments, sharing your stories. I read them, I feel them, and I'm genuinely grateful for this community we're building together. To everyone who's new here, welcome. You're exactly where you need to be. Your presence matters. Now, let's get into this reading. Virgo, stop what you're doing. I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you because what's coming through right now, it's not what you think. It's not what you've been preparing for. It's not even close to what you've been expecting. And when you hear this, when this lands, your entire understanding of your situation is going to shift. So take a breath, center yourself, and stay with me because there's something happening right now that you haven't been seeing clearly, something that's been moving beneath the surface, something that's been building while you were focused on something else entirely. And the moment you see it, the moment this clicks, everything is going to make sense in a way it hasn't before. Have you been feeling like something's off, like there's information you're missing? Let me know in the comments if you're already sensing this, because here's what I keep seeing. You've been looking in one direction, you've been focused on one person, one situation, one outcome. You've been analyzing, preparing, maybe even worrying about how something's going to unfold. But what's actually happening, it's coming from a completely different angle. It's not the person you think it is. It's not the situation you've been monitoring. It's not the door you've been watching. It's something else entirely. And when I say you're going to be floored by this, I mean it. Because there's a probability here that what you discover, what gets revealed, what comes to light, it's going to be the last thing you expected. And here's why this is so significant. You've been operating under certain assumptions, certain beliefs about what's true, about who's who, about what's really going on behind the scenes. And those assumptions, they're about to be challenged. Not in a devastating way, not in a way that breaks you, but in a way that wakes you up, in a way that shows you, oh, I see now. I see what was actually happening while I was looking somewhere else. Does this resonate? Because there's this energy around you right now that feels like preparation, like something in you already knows, like your intuition has been trying to get your attention, trying to show you something, but the logical part of your mind has been dismissing it. You've been telling yourself, no, that can't be it. That doesn't make sense. I I must be reading too much into things. But what if you weren't? What if that little voice, that subtle knowing, that feeling you kept pushing away was actually right? What if the thing you dismissed as paranoia, as overthinking, as just your mind playing tricks was actually your intuition trying to protect you, trying to show you the truth before it became obvious? Let me ask you something. Has there been a moment recently where something didn't sit right with you, where someone's explanation felt off, where a situation seemed too convenient, too perfectly explained? Comment below if something specific is coming to mind right now. Because here's what I keep sensing. There's been a narrative, a story you've been told either by someone else or by yourself, a way of understanding what's happening that felt reasonable, that made sense on the surface. But underneath that narrative, there's been something else, something that didn't quite add up, something that required you to ignore certain details, overlook certain inconsistencies, give certain people the benefit of the doubt. And you did that because you're a good person, because you don't want to assume the worst, because you'd rather believe in people's good intentions than jump to conclusions. But here's the thing, sometimes the conclusions aren't jumps, sometimes they're just accurate observations that we've been trained to doubt. Sometimes what looks like overthinking is actually seeing clearly and what's about to be revealed, what's about to come to light. It's going to validate every single thing you sensed but talked yourself out of believing. Every red flag you convinced yourself was just a misunderstanding. Every moment of discomfort you rationalized away. Every time your gut said something's not right here and your mind said you're being too sensitive, you weren't being too sensitive. You were being accurate. And when this truth surfaces, when you see it clearly, you're going to feel a lot of things at once. Relief that you weren't crazy, anger that you doubted yourself, clarity about why certain things never made sense. But underneath all of that, you're going to feel something else. Power, the power of knowing that your instincts work, that your intuition is trustworthy, that when something feels off, it probably is. Have you been doubting your perception lately? Questioning whether you can trust what you're sensing? Let me know in the comments, because what I'm seeing is you've been in this position before. You've been in situations where you saw something, felt something, knew something, but the people around you convinced you that you were wrong, that you were imagining things, that you were being paranoid, that you needed to relax, trust more, stop being so suspicious. And maybe you believed them. Maybe you overrode your own knowing to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to be the reasonable one. But this time is different. This time, you're going to see the proof. You're going to get the confirmation. You're going to have the moment where everything you sensed gets validated in a way that's undeniable. And that changes everything. Not just for this situation, but for how you trust yourself moving forward. Because once you see how accurate your instincts were, once you recognize that the thing you just had a feeling about was absolutely real, you stop second guessing yourself. You stop letting other people talk you out of what you know. You stop sacrificing your inner knowing for external validation. Now, here's what you need to understand about what's coming. This revelation, this moment of clarity, this truth that's about to surface, it's not going to come from where you expect. You might be waiting for a certain person to slip up, to show their hand, to finally reveal themselves. But what actually happens is something else entirely. A conversation you weren't part of gets back to you. A piece of information surfaces from an unexpected source. Something gets said in a moment where someone thought no one was paying attention. Or maybe you just suddenly see the pattern. Like all the puzzle pieces you've been holding suddenly click into place and you see the full picture and you realize, oh my God, it was right there the whole time. How did I not see this before? And the answer is you did see it, you just didn't trust what you were seeing. You thought you needed more proof. You thought you needed to be absolutely certain before you could act on what you knew. But certainty isn't always something that comes from external evidence. Sometimes certainty is just the quiet, unshakable knowing that lives in your body, the knowing that doesn't need to explain itself, doesn't need to justify itself, just knows. And you're about to remember what that feels like. Does this feel true for you right now? Drop a comment and let me know. Because here's what else I'm seeing. This isn't just about one person or one situation being revealed. This is about a whole dynamic being exposed, a way that you've been moving through relationships, through trust, through connection that hasn't been serving you, a pattern of giving people more credit than they've earned, of believing explanations that sounded good but didn't match actions, of hoping that if you just understood better, loved harder, tried more, things would align. But they didn't. And this moment, this revelation that's coming, it's going to show you exactly why. Not because you weren't enough, not because you didn't do it right, but because some people, some situations, some dynamics, they were never designed to work in your favor. They were designed to keep you confused, to keep you questioning, to keep you giving more than you were receiving. And once you see that clearly, once you recognize the pattern for what it is, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending. You can't go back to making excuses. You can't go back to accepting less than honesty, less than consistency, less than respect, because you'll know better. And knowing better, that's what changes everything. Now, I want to talk about what happens after the shock wears off, after the initial reaction settles, after you've sat with this new information and started to integrate it, because that's where the real transformation happens. In the days and weeks after this revelation, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice how much energy you've been spending trying to make sense of things that were never meant to make sense. How much mental bandwidth you've been using trying to understand people who were intentionally being unclear. How much emotional labor you've been doing trying to fix, explain, bridge, accommodate when the other person wasn't doing any of that work. And when you see that, when you feel how exhausting that's been, you're going to make different choices. Not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but out of self-preservation, out of self-respect, out of a simple, clear understanding that your energy is valuable and you get to decide where it goes. Have you been feeling exhausted by trying to make sense of someone or something? Let me know in the comments if this is resonating, because what I keep sensing is you've been ready for this truth for longer than you realize. Part of you has been waiting for permission to trust what you know, permission to stop forcing things that don't flow, permission to walk away from situations that require constant management. And this revelation, it's your permission, not from me, not from anyone external, but from yourself, from the part of you that's been watching, noticing, keeping track, and is finally ready to acknowledge what's been true all along. And here's what's beautiful about this moment. It's not going to destroy you. I know it might feel shocking at first. I know there might be moments where you think, how did I not see this? How did I let this happen? But underneath that, there's going to be relief. Relief that you finally have clarity. Relief that you're not imagining things. Relief that you can stop trying to force understanding and just accept what is. And from that place of acceptance, you can move not from reaction, not from emotion, but from clarity, from groundedness, from a place that knows exactly what it's dealing with and exactly what it needs to do. You're not going to be floored by this because it breaks you. You're going to be floored by this because it frees you, because once you see the truth, once you stop fighting against your own perception, once you let yourself know what you know, everything becomes simpler. The confusion clears. The mental loops stop. The constant questioning settles. And in its place, there's just knowing. Simple, clear, powerful knowing. And from that place, you can build something real, not built on hope, not built on potential, not built on what could be if only certain things changed, but built on what actually is, on honesty, on consistency, on people who show up the way they say they will, on situations that don't require you to ignore your instincts to participate, on connections that feel clear, not confusing. And that's what's waiting for you on the other side of this revelation. Not devastation, not collapse, but clarity, freedom, power, the power to choose differently, the power to trust yourself, the power to move forward without needing everyone else to understand or approve. So when this moment comes, when the truth surfaces, when you see what you've been sensing but not fully acknowledging, don't be afraid of it. Don't run from it. Don't try to explain it away. Just see it. Let yourself see it fully. Let yourself feel whatever comes up. Let yourself acknowledge that, yes, this is what was actually happening. And then make your choices from there, not from who you used to be, not from who you thought you should be, but from who you actually are right now. Someone who sees clearly, someone who trusts their instincts, someone who doesn't need external validation to know what's real. You're ready for this. You've been ready. And whatever gets revealed, you're strong enough to handle it. Not because you're unbreakable, but because you're real. And real always knows what to do with truth. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.